Hi there, welcome back. I'm Sean, and this is Sean Turns Up the Volume. Today, I'm going to be just doing a brief video. I'm going to be reading a quote from a book that I've been reading. I'm going to show you this book here on my Kindle. Oh man, it just went away. Oh, I thought I could get. Can I bring up the title? Can I bring up the title? Can I bring up the title? Will it show me the title screen? Here I am just wasting my people's time here. It is called Detrans. It is written by Dr. Hakeem. When transition is not the solution. And I'm going to be quoting from pages 78 and 79 from this book. I was just reading this, I've been working my way through it. And I just was reading about this person, Ritchie, and his story of detransitioning. And I thought this was really just impactful. Reading this, I don't think a lot of people hear about detransitioning stories. And I think that this stuff gets maligned, suppressed. It's certainly belittled and minimized when it comes up in media. So, and I think in the mental health world too. I don't really see any anything come up catering to like, here's the support group for people who have detransitioned, or here's how to work with clients who have detransitioned. I don't see those kinds of things pop up as trainings. I only see things that are all pro gender affirming sorts of things, queer trainings, things like that. So, really pride focused sorts of things. Anyway, that's a digression. It is ironic that I'm decided to wear my Venture Brothers t-shirt that I made. I do love the TV show The Venture Brothers because it's hilarious. Not that I agree with everything in it, and there are some trans characters in that show. But I mean, it's funny. I can laugh about things. I have a sense of humor, and I can laugh about things that I even disagree with. So anyway, I'm gonna quote from this book now, and I've got it right up here. So I'm gonna lean forward and read this to you, and maybe let this touch your heart. So again, this is Dr. S. Hakeem's book, Detrans, and this was an excerpt written by someone named Ritchie from the UK. Quote, in any procedure where they pierce a hole through your crotch, remove your testicles, invert the penis, take away the erectile tissue, and slam in packing to prevent wound closure, of course there are going to be some complications. I suppose bottom surgery does sound much nicer. The Frankenstein creation is a vagina in name only. In reality, it's a representation of delusional thinking. It just looks like my backside has been extended all the way to the front, with the apparent labia looking nothing more than loose skin. The entrance doesn't look particularly welcoming either, and if I were to show you a picture, you wouldn't know what you were looking at. It's a mere caricature of the real thing, as is common with a surgery like this. The scar lines pop open, never fully healing, and to this day they still weep. There was an unexpected new norm, something I didn't anticipate, mild incontinence, and the inability to empty my bladder. And of course, there is the pain, unrelenting and appearing without warning or causality, which can be felt through my body even 5 years later, as it tries to contemplate the damage being done. Unquote. Again, that's page 78, 79 in the book Detrans by Dr. Hakeem. So I read that, and I'm reading some more about this excerpt from him, and it's really heartbreaking. Like it, like let that sit with you. The thought that this person can never get back what was lost. They go on to talk more about it, that realization that there's no going back. They detransitioned, and yet there is no such thing, because you can't reacquire the balls, you can't reacquire the penis. The things are gone, they've been hacked up and destroyed. um, and so there is no going back. And so, as he mentions in the book, that plays into why people will persist in transition, because because of that, because they're stuck in it. So you continue on in the delusion, or you come back to reality but realize there's not a place to come back to as far as getting back your body that was changed. Again, I find this so sad and so appalling, and history is going to look back on this with horror, with judgment. This is going to be looked at like the atrocities done by the Nazis, by their experiments, and like the Japanese atrocities at the camp where they performed all sorts of torturous surgeries and experiments and things. I think, you know, as so many people grow up, and as the voices of desisters, detransitioners, people who have gone back on this, as their voices get louder and cannot be hidden, I think there's going to be a big reckoning coming. And so it's understandable that the liberals, that the people on the left who have promoted this stuff are desperate, would be desperate. Certainly the people who have pushed clients along through it, the doctors who have pushed people along through it, and the surgeons who have performed the surgeries. I think I'll provide a link below towards just one example of these. So if you want to torture yourself and look at what these before and after pictures look like of people who have been through this stuff, you'll be able to look and see at what's been done to their bodies, and is called care, and the less harmful thing. Now, I've got a real chip on my shoulder about this, which is why I keep making videos about it. I always, ever since reading 1984, worried about what would happen if society was actually going that crazy. And so how can I not keep speaking up that men cannot become women and women cannot become men? And if there's any time to be bold, I mean, the time was probably years ago, honestly. I mean, we should have been saying it loud and proud from the beginning and challenging them every which way. It never should have gotten this far, but somehow they cowed us into fear. And so I encourage you to not be afraid to speak up and be louder and bolder with challenging this nonsense. There is so much propaganda around this thing to get people to try to think that they're being sympathetic to the right cause by being pro-trans, when it is so wrapped up in ideological lies with nonsense because that is what the radicals within it want, the people who are really obsessed with it. They've built their lives around it. They want to convince you it's a born in the wrong body identity sort of thing. They want to convince you of this gender concept stuff because they get their way by doing that. And then there's all these people who are lied to and deceived along the way, who are damaged because of it, who are damaged with lifelong damage. And it's so sad because there's no going back for them. There's no going back for them. I can't imagine what it would be like to look down and know that you did this, that ultimately you did this to yourself, to have that kind of wound, that kind of injury, that kind of change, and to have to live with that. And so there's no wonder that there's still suicide after the transitions, because to live with that, I can only imagine, would be very difficult. So if I could discourage like one person away from doing that to their bodies, then that's a mission right there. Instead, you should love the body that you have, love the person that you are, that you biologically are. Look at this and go, if you're a man, go, I'm a man. If you're a woman, go, I'm a woman. And this is what I am, regardless of any feelings otherwise. This is what I am. I have to live with that. I have to embrace this. And it doesn't matter if you have interests that are more feminine or interests that are more masculine. And honestly, you can develop interest in other things. I mean, I learned later in my 20s that I actually love power tools and woodworking and doing things that are like that, and working on cars. I didn't know I could like masculine sorts of things like that. I was intimidated by those things growing up. I was not drawn in or welcomed into certain manly things, and in fact was opposed to certain things. It's like that's like guy culture stuff. That's not my thing. And then discovered in adulthood that actually a lot of that stuff can actually be pretty cool. It may not even be my favorite things, but I can find things that there's actually cool things about like embracing being a man, and I need to discover that. And it would have been cool to have discovered that earlier in life. So I would encourage. Now, of course, I can't do this as a counselor because they call that conversion therapy, right? I did some other videos on this, right? You can only do gender affirming care. You cannot encourage somebody. Now, I have no doubt people are still getting good, real care out there. It's probably on the down low, under the radar, and sort of stuff, because that's what you would have to do. But that stuff is considered unethical, but it is, at least in regards to minors, that's going to the Supreme Court. So I mentioned that in my other video. So anyway, I look forward to truth and justice reigning and overcoming in this thing, and that society will get its head screwed back on straight, that the radical left will ultimately have to give up on this thing and admit they're wrong. And I'll be curious to see just how that plays out, and if there will be consequences for the people who really were involved, have been involved in this stuff, in people's hormone treatments and transition surgeries and things. Will there be a reckoning? Will there be massive lawsuits? Will there be criminal punishments for these kind of things? Or will they just kind of disappear back under? Will people on the left claim, oh, they always knew that men were men and women were women? Oh, they never believed that gender ideology stuff, right? If truth prevails, will they kind of flip and act as if that was never even a thing? Will it get minimized? Like kind of like other horrific stuff that has been done in psychology, psychiatry in the past. We'll just be like, don't worry about that. And then maybe the same researchers, the same theorists, the same academics may go on to write the next kooky thing. So again, I think I mentioned in another video, like, watch out. Cultural Marxism is a hydra with many heads that pop up, and kooky ideas, right? Ultimately, that stuff is about just destroying all the tenets of our society. And so there is no idea that isn't too absurd or too false, that some PhD theorist researcher hasn't or won't propose it as the next latest greatest thing, and have some gobbledygook theory about it, and have people come around and go, and they'll inculcate this in like lectures in universities and write books about it, and it'll simmer under the radar for a couple of decades until exploding onto the scene. We'll see the next new crazy thing maybe in 2045, and it'll be some new insane thing, and half the population will go along with it. So beware, this isn't going to go away. Not until Jesus comes back is insanity going to go away. So anyway, that's what I've got you today. This has been a great book so far. I look forward to finishing it, and he's got some other recommendations in this book. I love learning more about this stuff. I love reading things that are like true and informative. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Please leave a comment below, and I'll try to get a chance to respond to you. I like debate and criticism, and there's things I could be wrong about, but by golly, if I'm wrong about men being women, men being men, and women being women, then well, shoot, I don't know. Maybe 2 + 2 isn't 4 after all, but I'm pretty sure it is. And if anybody tries to tell me otherwise, I'm going to direct them to a little book called 1984. Do I have it on my shelf? I got to get another copy of 1984. Anyway, thank you, and I will see you next time.